Hello everyone, welcome to Apsara Conference 2021. We will show you various interesting innovations at our Apsara Horizon program. Hi, I'm Liana. Can you introduce yourself to everyone, please?
Sure, my name is Darren. I'm a senior research scientist working at the Autonomous Driving Lab. It is one of the 5 laboratories here at the Alibaba DAMO Academy, and it is the only one that is working on self-driving related technologies.
Thank you. What exhibit do you bring today? Can we have a check?
Sure. Today, I'm very glad and excited to share with you some of our recent developments towards autonomous driving. In September 2020, we announced the first driverless logistic robot named Xiaomanlu, or small donkey in Mandarin. With human-like cognitive intelligence, its emergency response time is 7 times faster than a normal human being. The robots can easily handle complicated road conditions and automatically identifies the trajectory of objects and plans routes on the fly. Integrating with cutting-edge AI and self-driving technologies from DAMO Academy, it provides industry-leading competitiveness in terms of intelligence, safety, and scalability. So let's talk more about these 3 different aspects. First, intelligence. The robot's self-driving rate can reach 99.99%, and it can detect more than 100 pedestrians and vehicles in less than 10 milliseconds and predict their intentions as well. As for safety, we have 5 safety designs, including but not limited to redundancy of algorithms, abnormal detection, and a remote driving protection system. So when it encounters something that is beyond its perception boundary, the remote driving protection system will intervene and help handle the scenario. Nevertheless, we have implemented highly customized building components, such as the LiDARs and other sensors around the vehicle. With our self-developed embedded computing platforms, we are able to achieve mass production at scale. And this is one of the major differences comparing to other industry robots.
Are you ready to explore more? Let's go to the Apsara Horizon online to continue.
Hello everyone, welcome to Apsara Horizon, a dialogue segment of Alibaba Group's Apsara conference that brings together Asia's cutting-edge technologies. We'll be in conversation with our esteemed guests to hear more about their stories, as well as perspectives on the challenges, opportunities, and the future of their field. If this is your first time tuning in, the Alibaba Group's Apsara conference is the company's flagship tech conference. Apsara was first held in 2009 and has grown to receive both local and international attention. While some of you are tuning in virtually, the conference is actually ongoing live in person in Hangzhou this year. There are more than 100 speeches and panels with China's key thought leaders, experts, and decision makers weighing in on all things tech. Many new innovations and solutions will also be making their debut at the conference, so we're really excited to learn and hear from all of this year's guests and attendees. If you'd like to learn more and check out the conference virtually, we have more links and details in the description box below. Moving on to the conversation for today, we'll be talking about leading the future with autonomous mobility. Let me first introduce our guests. We have Guo Zhenyu, the Senior Technical Expert of Autonomous Driving Lab at Alibaba's DAMO Academy.
Sorry for having me here. Hi everyone, my name is Zhenyu Guo. I'm from Alibaba DAMO Academy. I'm heading the product operation system for the autonomous driving department. And we are developing and operating a fleet of self-driving delivery vehicles currently. Thanks.
And we have Melvin Foo, founder and CEO of Whizz Mobility.
Hello everyone, I'm Melvin. I'm the CEO and founder of Whizz Mobility. So we are a manufacturer and operator of community-focused robots here in Singapore. Fun fact, we are also a student startup. So we are based out of primarily of Nanyang Technological University in Singapore.
Awesome. And of course, as you both shared, everyone's in autonomous vehicles and robots. Maybe you could share with us a little the story behind how you got interested in AV and how you ended up founding your own company and working in one of China's leading AI and AV labs. Maybe this time we can start with Melvin.
Right. Actually, I don't think I've mentioned to you our founding story. It's quite interesting. So, for me, I've always been very interested in EVs. So I've been a big fan of Elon Musk. I've been very concerned with climate change. What it's going to do with the icebergs, the 2-degree rise in temperature. So I always wanted to get into the EV space. But when I was 12, 13 years old, I couldn't get into this very capital intensive, very expensive industry. So I watched a very inspirational TED Talk, which talked about using motors and batteries from RC drones and using it for useful purposes. So like for robots, for micro mobility, e-scooters, skateboards, all this, right? And then so I went to go but I couldn't actually go and ride a skateboard. So I decided to, because I'm very clumsy. So what I did was actually I wanted to make a scooter with a handlebar. And then so I tried to make a prototype. This was back in 2015 when it was very early, and the supply chain and Xiaomi hasn't even come out with their e-scooters yet, right? But in Singapore, we actually banned the usage of the e-scooters because it's a bit unsafe. So I thought like, what else could we utilize the technology for? And then we went for robots. So it really came from the EV and climate change angle for myself.
Nice. And Zhenyu, what about yourself?
Cool. Very interesting story from Melvin. Mine was a little bit different. So about 4 years ago, my partner from my first startup, sold company, and he went to States. He started another business. He was acquired Postmates. At the time, was one of the largest food delivery company in San Francisco, in the U.S. market. And he joined Postmates with the mission to build a sidewalk robot, which is delivery food in the U.S. market on the sidewalk for Postmates. And he called me right away after he signed the deal. And I was very skeptical at the time because I didn't like robotics as a discipline in general through my PhD. I did my PhD in machine learning and computer vision, because if you went to the robotics conferences like ICRA, IROS, right? They usually publish things without benchmarking. So usually they show you a video, a robot is moving, but no one showing a real robot moving around. So I didn't really like it. But after I took a testing drive with Waymo, it's around the late of 2016, I realized it's probably coming. So the technology behind the autonomous driving for perception, mapping, localization, and planning and control is probably there right around the corner, turning point from demos to production. So that I believe in the nature, like the background, the foundation of the things is coming. But on the other hand, the opportunity that Postmates provides me a different angle. So the sidewalk is more constrained environment compared to public road, and the highways in the urban environments. And it gives me a feeling we could make it faster and more safer and robust, make it happen compared to public road for driving. So I joined the company together with my partner. We built a team around 100 people. We did pretty well. Postmates was acquired by Uber last summer. So I was thinking about what to do next after acquisition. I always wanted to go back to China to make some impact into the largest market in the world. And I talked to various different companies in China, and Alibaba's core business provides various opportunities for developing operating autonomous driving vehicles. Because we have e-commerce, we have food delivery, we have entertainment, we have other city infrastructure. So I decided to join Alibaba. So that's a story in general.
Nice, interesting. I think it seems like both of you guys have this commonality in terms of finding potential in the technology between in AV and things like that. I think that's really cool. Moving on, I think in today's climate, I guess AV is quite like a hot, sexy topic in the tech world right now. And of course, we see it in so many different use cases. We have trucks, buses, and of course, you guys look at robotics. Could you share with us what you think the value such robotic technology brings and could share with us some examples that have really highlighted this to you. Maybe Zhenyu, we can start with you.
Let me try to understand this question clearly. In terms of robotic technology, I think currently for the market, besides the project we're working on right now, right, we are actually building a quite large scale application deployments in China already. In general, the field, the service robots, indoor service robots is really taking off from 3 or 4 years ago. And generally, if you go to Asian market, Singapore, primarily in mainland China, almost every hotel I went to, they have the service robots, delivery, whatever, helping you guide the guest, is really making a pretty critical role and generating a lot of benefits for society. So from now on for the future, I think in terms of cars, more and more electrical vehicles are equipped with self-driving technology. No matter you call it ADAS or L4 or L3, it is happening and it is moving towards the really ideal future. And every company in the field is working really hard to make it happen. I think collaboratively, we probably will accelerate this progress and make it happen sooner. Yeah.
Nice. Melvin, what do you think?
So I think maybe I could just comment more on like the high level. So I think for robotics, the main point is to automate, I think other than the cost thing, right, lower cost, but the more important thing is to automate like repetitive tasks and for robots to do dangerous tasks. So I think that's the other two important value that robotics bring to society. Yeah, I think that's really important. I think no one really is born into this world wanting to be a food delivery personnel for the rest of their life, right? And especially I think in the backdrop of aging population in China, in Singapore, right? We need everyone to be more productive, to do more creative work, management of instead of doing the delivery themselves or doing the task themselves, manage the robot that do the task. You know what I mean? So we really need to solve this productivity crunch that the world is facing. In terms of like what is I think impact, what gave me a lot of impact, I think seeing our customers and seeing people on the ground that didn't know that this type of technology exists. And I think so it's quite inspiring because I think people see that the world is changing so quickly. You can't stay still. Like the world the future that was promised to us, right? Happening because I think our digital life has actually changed a lot. So we have an app to do every single thing, but our physical environment actually hasn't really changed that much in the last 50 years, right? And I think robotics and autonomous cars and everything, right? It's really in the face of the public and society, and it's very exciting, I would say. I think generally our customers and our people on the sidewalks are all quite excited about it. Yeah.
Nice. So, I mean, as Zhenyu mentioned, there's a lot of room for development, right? I think in application scenarios, maybe in more public spaces. And I think, Melvin, you just mentioned, some similarities there and agree with that. I think for Zhenyu specifically, earlier you mentioned that, being part of the Alibaba ecosystem is there's more potential and more room for development because of all the complementary use cases or scenarios. And of course, the level of digital infrastructure is also key to the development of autonomous technologies. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit more on the role in which the Alibaba ecosystem plays in this and how it can help.
Yes, it is. You put it really well, right? It's a really, really good question, and you really understand really well. So in general, we know that autonomous driving system requires very complex system, not only for the car itself, right? There's a lot of things around it, both for development, deployment, and operation. And so let's break it down, right? For development, you need usually a huge amount of data. It requires a large amount of computation power, and for training, testing, simulation. So Alibaba Cloud definitely gives us a really solid foundation to make it happening. We have a terabyte, huge amount of data every day coming back, and how we are training that, right? And during the deployment, you will need to, acquire and build a HD mapping, usually high definition map based on all the sensory data, which include a lot of annotation, quality assurance, and map updating. And also, another thing is for simulation. Simulation is also at the core of developing verification, validation, autonomous driving technology. And the simulation requires also huge amount of data, computation power, and other things, right? Give you an example. Our simulation system already runs on more than tens of thousands of computing nodes on the cloud right now today. So and also say operation. So after you deploy the robot or the vehicles in the field, you need to operate the vehicles daily, like 10 hours, 12 hours a day. And during this time, all the vehicles need to maintain a very consistent data pipeline, a data communication channel, both to the clouds or among the vehicles. So all in all together, everything is really critical in all these steps. And the Alibaba cloud infrastructure provides us very, very sufficient, more than sufficient help. Without this solid foundation, which is probably not as fast for us to develop the things and deploy the stuff.
Awesome. Thanks for that. I think sometimes we tend to only look at the product or the machine that's right in front of us. We tend to forget that there's actually so much work that goes behind, developing all these systems, infrastructure, to make it really seamless, and then to make sure that the end product runs smoothly and effectively and safely. I think, speaking about that, of course, AV and AI is technology that requires, rigorous research and testing before, of course, prototyping, building viable models, and then scaling at large. Could you share with us, some of the challenges you face in developing these technologies, and how, you guys have attempted to translate that into real life utility? Maybe Melvin, we can start with you on this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe I can start off with a joke. So they usually call, like, when you call a product a robot, right? Typically, it doesn't work. That's why they call it a robot. So if you like, for example, a washing machine or a microwave, in a way they take in inputs, they do some process, and then you have output, right? That's kind of a robot. But they don't call it a robot. They call it a microwave and everything like that. So right now, for our site work, autonomous cars or sidewalk robots, right? There's bugs lah, and it's a challenge. Hardware is really difficult and very hard, right? So we definitely faced a lot of challenge. I think other than in startups, you always have this product market fit. So you try to make sure that you are solving a problem that people want to get solved, right? Other than that, I think robotics companies have a robot environment fit that they need to settle, right? Because I think for the software side, there's a lot of abstraction. So like from Alibaba Cloud, right? They set up for you the infrastructure. You can pay per use, right? But for the robot, no one's giving you the abstraction. Like you do have to read, like you do have to touch the atoms, right? You have to go through over obstacles. Like does your robot fit the environment, the physical environment? That's a big challenge. And then I think the other big challenge for robotics is it's very multidisciplinary. You need software, electrical, mechanical. You can't just have a single type of engineer. It's hard to manage like a multidisciplinary team.
Understood. I mean, I understand that Whizz Mobility has been in operation for the last couple of years. So I think that's to say, these are pains and issues that any young startup would face, especially when building something so complex from the ground. Zhenyu, what do you have to say about challenges of bringing research into real life utility?
Yes, it is a very good question, and let me see where to start from. We're definitely facing thousands or hundreds of challenges. Let me put two things, I think, very concrete example. First one is, usually people look at the research, look at the technology, right? We're looking at the state of art, what people talk about in the research part papers, whatever, and specifically for perception planning. But usually perception planning requires, in those papers, right, requires high volume computation and it requires a lot of computation power to run the models, make it work. But when we deploy the models or the algorithm onto the car, it's a very small embedded system. It's not as powerful as the instances in the cloud in Alibaba. How we are going to make a model which returns the accuracy and the latency, but also run on a smaller machine. This is one very challenging. The second one is we also want to make it harder. It's not enough. We want to use, from year to year, we want to use less computation power to make it happen because we want to reduce the cost. And then reducing cost give you cheaper product and lower the barrier, enter the market and make it easier to scale up, right? So we have two things and very contradiction to each other, how we're solving it. We actually made a lot of progress on this front. Internally, we have a thing called auto drive system. It's kind of like a NAS system. It is actually optimize all the models algorithms running on the car, on the vehicle, end-to-end automatically, looking for best accuracy, smallest model size, and make it run faster efficiently. And on the other hand, we're actually designing and building, manufacture our own computation unit. We're not buying anything off the shelf, just using them on the vehicle. We design from chip level and make it more efficient and more economy. So this is the thing we're making. Second example is really, really interesting is when you deploy a autonomous vehicle in the real world, you're not only solving a mathematical or technology problem, you're actually facing other road users, right? In a way, let's face it, you're introducing a very intrusive devices into other human beings' life. It is not a happy thing most of the time, right? It's not going to be pleasant. How we're going to make it better? On the one hand, we want to make our system really well-rounded, not only from the algorithm angle, but also from a combination from product design, interaction design, algorithm, software, hardware, policy, a lot of things to make it better. So this is the thing we're facing. Although all the human beings, bike riders, they're not the customer, our end customer, but they're playing a very crucial role in this whole process, scaling up autonomous driving. So we're dealing with it pretty well. But it is not easy, as you can see, because, for example, we're currently operating in more than 70 cities, more than 24 provinces across China. And they have China is a huge country, different weather conditions, different traffic conditions, different road conditions, and people may have different habit. Some places, some regions are more tolerating, more accepting. Some other places are more conservative towards a new machine, and different age groups, like the other demographic things, right? How are you building a product quickly, iteratively, adopting different policy, but adapting into different region? That's the thing we're facing. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. I think it really sounds like, as you guys work on building the entire ecosystem, there are always, so many factors that bring new challenges. And like you mentioned, there are certain fundamental things that you guys are working on that are also contradictory. So working on how to balance that and all that. And like you mentioned, China is such a huge country. There's so many different people and situations to cater to. But I think at the same time, with all these challenges, there's also, that also means that there's room for opportunity and growth, which is what I want to get to next. I'd like to talk a little bit more about, the opportunities that maybe you guys have been seeing. I think firstly for Melvin, I think for Whizz Mobility, you guys have sort of had this 1 year plus incubation period within the NTU campus. And I'm sure you guys get a lot of questions about scaling up. But I'm curious to know if you found this sort of university bubble really fortuitous and helpful as a testing and building ground. Maybe you can share your experience with us.
Thanks. So we currently have around 200 vehicles, operating daily in China on all sorts of different campuses, and they're not operating for free, right? We actually has a valid business model behind it. We already proved the unit economy is actually generating revenue and cover its cost and help us grow the things very fast at scale. We will reach around 1,000 later this year. So it's already quite a size of fleet. In a way, it's probably the largest fleet of autonomous driving vehicles in L4 level in the world. During the things, we definitely learn a lot, right? Not only a lot of people may think that the benefit or the value of automation machine is on replacing human labor, or supplying more work like human labor couldn't fulfill sometimes. But it's not true. It's only one side of the story. Another very important side is we actually really notice that the amount of value generated by automation, a driving experience or automation delivery is there, very solid. Everyone can see that. But think about it like a network of logistics, right? A logistical network consists of a lot of machines, a lot of vehicles. Not only individual vehicles will provide value, but as a network in the whole efficiency of delivery increased by 200%, 300%. It's very easy to understand, because if you have a human driver in the loop, it's really hard to understand the ETA, right? And it's really hard to understand the status every second of this driver doing. And when you give a command, for example, planning command, the human driver may or may not execute those kind of a plan really well. But with all the delivery agents replaced by autonomous vehicle or machine, it is actually 100% sure where they are, what they're doing, what they're thinking, and collaboratively, you can make all the steps more efficient. So we actually learned that this really works. It's not on paper, because we proved that the whole efficiency of volume this whole network can do is 3 or 4 times more than just using human delivery services. So this is another thing we actually learned, and we definitely want to leverage what we have, make it in a larger scale, in a larger, more general scenarios. As you mentioned, that all the experience we gained from a temperature operation, for the technology side, we actually accumulate more data, and we have seen more useful training cases, and we actually refine our infrastructure. As I mentioned before, all the cloud infrastructure is really crucial for autonomous vehicle development, and we are trying to transfer such knowledge and our experience to a more general public road. So we're already working on autonomous driving urban truck. This is a product going on.
Nice. I think that's really interesting to hear as well. There's, again, going back to the fact that there's always so much more refinement and so much more development to do. And it, like you mentioned, there's an entire mobility and logistics supply chain and ecosystem to work on, different nodes and different modules in the entire system. Now, I'm gonna head on to our last question. I think let's talk about what you guys think, where you think the future is headed for your field, and maybe for your own technology and use case in specifics. What are you guys excited for, and maybe what challenges you guys anticipate? Let's start with Melvin.
Right. So I think the field of robotics and automation definitely is gonna continue to grow in a huge way. I think investors, big companies, small companies are all looking at this trend. I think the 2010s is the year of, let's say, is the decade of the smartphone, right? So that's where a lot of innovation comes in. I think the 2020s is going to be the decade of autonomous and intelligent machines. I think by the end of 2030s, by 2030, we would see this type of vehicles on our streets, and that's going to be huge, lah. I think I think why is this the case? I think we see it's the compute, the data, the algorithms, the sensors, I think are all getting to the point where it's ready to deploy in the field, right? The things coming from the research labs are getting deployed into our streets and sidewalks. I think for us, what we are really excited, so we recently launched our last mile network. So what this allows is it allows things that are coming from outside of the campus to actually benefit from the robotic network. So this can include parcels, groceries, and they can utilize our technology to actually lower the cost for their last mile, because it's really the last mile that is responsible for 50% of the cost. Then I would say that our challenges wise, I think like scaling it up. So we have to scale up in terms of the product, the fleet, manpower, fundraising and everything like that. So that will be our we have finished our R&D and our initial version, but I think now our big challenge is to scale this up. Yeah.
Awesome. I think, yeah, I definitely agree with you that perhaps maybe even more so for us in Southeast Asia, we really see industry 4.0 really more in action. So in the 2020s, I mean, of course, I know in China, industrial industry technology expansion has been going on for a while. So maybe to them, you know, we're a bit behind. But I think on a global scale, industry 4.0 is definitely expanding. And yeah, it sounds like you guys, I know you guys also have a partnership with Food Panda, and I hope that's doing well. So we wish you guys all the best in your further expansion. On to you, Zhenyu, some last words for what you guys are excited for, and maybe some of the challenges and opportunities that we can anticipate.
Cool. I definitely believe that autonomous driving is really happening. And otherwise we won't have this conversation today, right? Like a lot of people, companies both from the capital side, from the society side, policymaker, even and consumers are all expecting it's happening. So it is really cool. I think it's really rare in human history, a huge amount of people in general wishing something happen at the same time, people wishing for the same thing. And that's why all the different, societies, countries, or different power, different things can pool resources into the one angle, one direction together. So I believe it's definitely happening. Otherwise, I don't think a human being will not make it happen as we keep putting talents and resources into that. So no question for sure. I believe it's happening, and I think it will happen soon, but not that soon. I don't think it's happening in general for public road. It will be something like 3, 4, 5 years. But that's why we choose campus, right? We choose those well-bounded, well-constrained environment instead of going for the public at first. But although that being said, I don't think it is a trivial thing. I don't think it's only a convenience tool. I think it's much more than that, as I mentioned before, right? Not only revolutionize or transform the society in a better way, but also it will inspire a lot of new things happening. Maybe we will have, combining with metaverse, VR, whatever, who knows, we will have a society which will look very different from what we're seeing now. So I think it is well beyond my imagination, to be honest. And think about the world. You don't have to go downstairs to pick up your bottle of water from the fridge. You don't have to really interact with a real human being to get the real physical things passing along. What it will be, right? I don't think I have that imagination to tell you what it will be like, but I'm sure it will happen, and it will be really, really cool to see it's happening. Hopefully it's in a better way. And in terms of challenges I'm facing, you mentioned the COVID-19 pandemic situation, right? It's really hit us really, really hard because first, for example, talents, it is a very tight global talent pool in this industry anyway. So we usually hire from the globe. I moved back from to China from North America too. Like usually we will have a very high percentage of people coming from all around the world to join our teams. But during the pandemic, it's really hard. Like my family is stuck in Vancouver in a way. And the other thing is the supply chain. We are at a really critical point to scale up, right? And you all heard about the shortage in chips, in other materials, and make it really hard for us to track. And the price getting really up, insanely high this year. So it slows us down a little bit. Those are bad part, but a good part will be, surprisingly, the whole pandemic thing accelerate societies from both West and East to be more accepting what is digitization and also automation. Before the pandemic, I think a lot of people will questioning, do we really need self-driving cars? Do we really need that many robots? Do we really need mobile payments? But after the pandemic, it became a normal thing, no matter whether you like it or not, right? So it's really pushed everything forward in a much, much faster way. And I think we should and we are capturing those kind of like benefits from this wave.
Awesome. I think that's you brought up a very interesting point at the beginning of your answer. You said that we're probably in a very rare phenomenon right now where everybody is looking forward to a similar thing. And like you mentioned with the pandemic, everybody's getting used to digitalization. I think, like you mentioned, it will probably have quite a dramatic impact on society. Maybe not immediately, but 5-10 years down the road, we can definitely see. Look back and really see in hindsight what the true effect of this is. I think that's really exciting. Great. And I think with that, we've come to the end of today's dialogue. Thank you both for the interesting insights and thoughts. And of course, we hope to be able to host you both at the in-person event in future and do a proper introduction. And to our overseas audience, we also hope you guys will get the chance to join the Apsara conference in person in the future. Thanks again, both Zhenyu and Melvin, for joining us and for the audience for tuning in. We hope to see everyone again soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay.